I froze mid-bite as my great-grandma asked, "Isn't the $2,000 I send you each month enough?" I hadn't seen a single dollar. The room went silent. Hey there. Welcome to today's story. Wherever you are, on a walk, doing chores, or just winding down, take a breath, settle in. This one's worth hearing. Today, we're stepping into the shoes of someone who's always been second place in her own family. Until one night, the truth finally comes to light. Have you ever felt overlooked? Like you were doing everything right, but still not enough? Stick around till the end to see how she turns quiet survival into power. And hey, if this kind of story speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe and like so I can keep sharing more just like it. Thanks for being here. Let's dive in.
You're so lucky to be in New York, people would say. Yeah, if by lucky you mean living in a fourth-floor walk-up with a leaky bathroom, working for free at a media company that forgets your name, and eating canned soup 4 nights a week because rent eats half your soul, then sure, I'm thriving. My name is Lena Hartley. I'm 20, and I'm used to being overlooked, especially by my parents. Growing up, my older brother Damien was the sun our family orbited around. He was charming, reckless in a way people found entertaining, and had this ridiculous ability to mess up and still land on his feet. Damien crashed a car at 17, and my mom cried because he could have died. I got a B in chemistry, and she asked if I was slacking off. When Damien announced he was pursuing acting, our parents acted like he'd been anointed by Spielberg himself. They emptied their savings for acting school, headshots, some indie film no one ever saw, and even paid his rent in LA for almost 2 years. I, on the other hand, got a used laptop for graduation and a handshake. But I didn't complain, not out loud anyway. I earned a partial scholarship to Columbia and landed an internship at Vibeline, a flashy, chaotic digital media company in Manhattan. You've probably seen their clickbait headlines. 10 celebs who ate dirt and loved it. Yeah, that's where I work. Except I don't get paid, not a cent. It's experience, they say, which would be fine if experience could cover my Metro card or my cracked phone screen. The only reason I made it this far was because of my great-grandmother, Iris. She's 82, still sharp as a tack, and has always seen me, really seen me. When I was 15, she told me, "You're not loud, Lena, but your silence has weight. That matters." She promised she'd help me once I got into college, said she'd send money each month to take the pressure off. I believed her. Except, no money ever came. I didn't want to seem ungrateful, so I waited. Then I asked my mom about it one day when I was desperate, like literally skipping meals desperate, and she snapped. "Do you think Iris is a bank?" she yelled. "She's old, Lena. She can't afford everything." So I shut up and picked up another job, late nights bartending downtown. Class in the morning, Vibeline in the afternoon, bar shifts till 1 a.m. Rinse, repeat. My roommate Nina Torres, a film student with a spine of steel and a soft spot for me, started leaving granola bars on my desk and calling me her goblin roommate. She covered my share of Wi-Fi once when I couldn't. I kept every IOU in a shoebox, planning to pay her back someday. Meanwhile, Damien was apparently booking gigs in LA, according to Mom's Facebook updates. One post even said he was too busy for Thanksgiving because of callback week. I hadn't spoken to him in almost a year. Every text I sent got a thumbs up or a vague, "Busy RN, you good?" Was I good? Not really, but I kept going, because what choice did I have? Then came the gala. Iris had been named honorary chair of some big nonprofit in the city, a scholarship fund for women in journalism, ironically. Nina's film professor was covering the event and got us on the guest list as student assistants. Basically, we were there to smile, hold cameras, and not spill wine on donors. Iris didn't know I'd be there. I didn't even know she'd be there. When I saw her across the ballroom in this stunning navy dress, silver hair pinned up like royalty, I felt my throat close. I wanted to run up and hug her, to ask why she'd stopped writing me, why she never reached out. But I also felt weird, like maybe I wasn't allowed. The universe didn't care about my weirdness, though, because halfway through the night, while people were nibbling on mini crab cakes and pretending they cared about education, Iris took the mic for a speech. She was warm, charming, and then, out of nowhere, she looked directly at me. "Where's my Lena?" she asked, scanning the room. "There she is." Everyone turned. My face burned. "I hope the $2,000 I've been sending every month has helped with your books and meals." The ballroom froze. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the tray of champagne I was holding. $2,000? A month? What? I hadn't seen a dime. My brain was short-circuiting. I smiled, awkwardly, and waved. I couldn't speak. People clapped. Iris moved on. But I couldn't. My stomach dropped through the floor. If she had been sending money, then where had it gone? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, while Nina gently asked, "Are you okay?" And I answered, "I don't know." All I could think about was a question I hadn't asked in a long time. What else had they stolen from me? I didn't confront anyone right away. Not because I wasn't furious. Oh, I was. But because I needed to know before I lit the match. I needed proof. That weekend, I called my mom under the pretense of checking in. She sounded distracted, like she always did when I called. I kept my voice light. "Hey, just wondering, has Iris said anything about, helping me with school?" A pause. Then, "Lena, don't be selfish. Iris is on a fixed income. She's done enough just being there for you emotionally. You should be grateful." Grateful? I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I might break a molar. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. Nina watched me, chewing a red Twizzler like it was popcorn. "So?" she asked. "They lied," I said. Nina didn't say, "I told you so." She just tossed me another Twizzler and said, "Well, screw 'em." I wish I could say I marched over to my parents' place and burned it all down. But I couldn't afford the subway fare, let alone the emotional fallout. Instead, I just survived. The next few weeks blurred into one long cycle of grind. Vibeline kept piling on unpaid assignments, captioning videos, transcribing interviews, assisting editors by basically doing their work and getting zero credit. I bartended on weekends and 3 nights a week, mixing overpriced drinks for people who didn't tip. My feet always hurt. My brain never shut off. I was tired all the time. There were nights I skipped dinner because the walk to the 24-hour deli felt like too much. Nina started making extra pasta without asking. I pretended not to notice. Then came midterms, and my laptop died. Just went black in the middle of a draft. I stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me, tried every trick. Nothing. Repair quote? $310. I had $43 in my bank account. That night, I cried in the supply closet at work. Not pretty, silent tears either. Ugly sobs, hyperventilating, snotty, full collapse. When I got home, Nina handed me a grilled cheese and sat beside me on the floor. "You're not gonna like this," she said, "but I called my parents. They're lending me $500. It's for the laptop. Don't argue." I did argue. She shut it down fast. "Lena, take the damn money. You'd do it for me." So I took it, but I wrote every cent in my shoebox ledger like a sacred vow. That money was going back to her one day, even if I had to sell plasma. Meanwhile, Damien was still MIA. Mom's Instagram showed pictures of him at some low-budget film premiere in LA, grinning in a sparkly blazer that looked like it cost more than my rent. One caption said, "So proud of our rising star. Funny, he hadn't booked a single real role in years. But the narrative never changed. Damien equals golden boy. Lena equals the girl who somehow always managed. I stopped checking their socials after that. Every time I saw his face, I felt like I was swallowing glass. And yet, despite it all, I kept moving. Because that's what you do when you're the invisible one. You hustle in silence, you shrink so others can shine. You teach yourself not to expect fairness, just hope. And that hope, it was shrinking. Until Iris called me. It was a random Wednesday. I was walking home with aching calves and a bag of discounted groceries when my phone rang. Unknown number. Lena? Her voice was warm but cautious. It's Iris. My heart stopped. We hadn't spoken directly in almost a year. I saw you at the gala, she said. You looked beautiful. I stopped walking. You meant it? About the money? A pause. Of course. I've been sending it to your parents every month since you started school. They told me they'd handle everything so you could focus. My grip tightened on the grocery bag. They didn't, I whispered. I never saw $1. Silence. Then Iris, calm, steely Iris, said in the coldest voice I've ever heard from her, "Thank you for telling me. I'll take care of it." She hung up before I could say anything else. I just stood there on the sidewalk, the weight of the world in one hand and a bruised banana in the other. The invitation came 3 days later. Thick cream cardstock with gold lettering, like something out of a movie. Hartley Family Table, reserved, Women in Media Annual Gala, Waldorf Ballroom, Midtown. I stared at it like it might catch fire. I hadn't been to a family table, anything, in years. Birthdays, holidays, Damien's fake film screenings. If I was invited at all, it was as an afterthought. This was deliberate. A trap or a reckoning? Maybe both. Iris had definitely taken care of it. I wore a dress I borrowed from Nina. Dark green satin with a slit I safety pinned shut because I can't do sexy while stressed. She curled my hair while humming Survivor by Destiny's Child. "You look expensive," she said, in a "my family's about to implode" kind of way. She wasn't wrong. The ballroom was packed. Crystal chandeliers, waiters with perfect posture, too many sequins. I spotted my parents near the back, mingling like they belonged there. My mom's face lit up in practiced surprise when she saw me. "Lena!" she gasped, like we hadn't spoken 3 days ago. "You made it! Oh, honey, you look Finn." I flinched. Dad leaned in awkwardly for a side hug. "Everything all right? You've been quiet." I shrugged. Busy surviving. Before they could respond, a volunteer usher led us to our assigned seats. Long white tablecloths, little name cards. Ours read, Clark Hartley, Vivian Hartley, Damien Hartley, Lena Hartley, Iris Sinclair. Damien wasn't there. No shock. He was always conveniently booked during family events. I assumed tonight was no different. Until he strolled in late, wearing a turtleneck under a velvet blazer like he was auditioning for a Bond villain. My mother lit up. My father grinned. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my past trauma. Dinner passed in a blur of polite conversation and forced laughter. Iris was mostly quiet, sipping her wine, watching everyone. Then came the speeches. An MC gushed about Iris's contributions to women's education. In fact, she said brightly, her great-granddaughter, Lena, is one of our scholarship recipients. Wait, what? Everyone turned toward me. My mom gave a tight smile. Damien clapped half-heartedly. Iris stood, graceful and commanding. "I'm proud of Lena," she said. "Despite many obstacles, she's thrived, which is why I've ensured she receives direct support moving forward. Directly." Her gaze sharpened as she looked at my parents. No more middlemen. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Vivian shifted in her seat. Clark's jaw tightened. Also, Iris continued, raising her champagne flute, I believe in transparency. Since 2021, I've sent $2,000 every month to support Lena's education. That's nearly $50,000. A pause. But Lena never received a cent. The silence that followed was deafening. Forks stopped clinking. People turned. Someone at another table audibly gasped. My mom's face drained of color. Iris didn't blink. Vivian? Clark? Would you care to explain? My dad coughed. My mom tried to smile. Mother, this isn't the time. I disagree. Iris's voice was steel. You took money intended for your daughter. What did you spend it on? My father's eyes flicked to Damien. Damien, suddenly very interested in his water glass. I'll tell them if you won't, added. That broke something in Vivian. She crumbled like cheap paper. He was in trouble, she said, voice cracking. Damien was spiraling, gambling, drugs. He needed help. We used the money for therapy, clinics, debts. And Lena? Iris asked. She needed food, rent, a working laptop. She worked 2 jobs while you funneled her money into his addiction. My mom sobbed into her napkin. Dad stared straight ahead. I sat frozen, barely breathing, like I'd stepped outside my body. Iris looked around the room. This is what family silence does. It protects the wrong people. Then, like a queen reclaiming her court, she raised her glass. To the ones who endure without applause, to the daughters who survive. And she drank. So did half the room. The rest just sat in stunned silence, watching the Hartley family come undone in real time. The second the gala ended, my parents didn't even pretend to mingle. They practically dragged Damien toward the exit, like fugitives sneaking out the side door of a burning building. Iris? She stayed. She made the rounds, hugged donors, smiled for photos, then calmly turned to me and said, "Come home with me tonight, Lena." It wasn't a question. It was a rescue. The ride to her brownstone was quiet. I held the program from the event in my lap like it might explain what had just happened. It didn't. She poured us both tea when we arrived. Jasmine. The cup was warm in my hands, but I still felt cold. "You didn't tell me you were sending them money," I said finally. "I shouldn't have had to," she replied, calm but firm. I trusted them. That was my mistake. I blinked. They've been stealing from both of us. Iris nodded. For nearly 2 years. She sat across from me, back straight, fingers wrapped around her cup like it grounded her. "They told me you didn't want my help, that you were doing fine, independent," she sighed. "And I wanted to believe that. You've always been self-sufficient." I scoffed. "No, I've been ignored. That's different." A beat. "Point taken," she said quietly. We sat there in silence, the kind that hums with all the words neither of you know how to say yet. Then she reached into a drawer in the sideboard and pulled out a thick folder. "This," she said, "is everything." I opened it slowly. Inside were bank statements, copies of wire transfers, letters she'd written, ones I'd never seen. One envelope, dated my freshman year, read, "Lena, here's something for books and winter boots. Stay warm and brilliant. Love, Iris." I almost cried. "They cashed the checks," she said. "Every single one." I swallowed hard, throat burning. "But there's more." I looked up. "Damien never went to acting school." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "He was supposed to, but instead he moved to LA, blew the first $20,000 at a poker club, and spiraled from there. They kept lying to me about his classes, his callbacks, all of it. But the photos, the posts. Staged, or worse, paid appearances at low-tier events. Her voice was tired now. They funneled everything into trying to fix him. The rehab, the therapists, the fresh starts. Over $200,000 in total. I stared at her. I couldn't even finish the sentence. Iris reached across the table, placed her hand over mine. And not a single dollar went to you. I nodded slowly, like maybe if I moved carefully, the hurt wouldn't split me open. But it stops now, she said, eyes sharp again. Starting next week, I'll transfer $2,000 a month directly to your account. I opened my mouth to protest, but she raised a finger. No arguments. It's yours. You earned it 10 times over. Then she pulled out another document, this one newer, legal looking. I also changed my will. I blinked. Excuse me? You're my sole heir now. I actually laughed, a weird short sound that felt like choking and relief and shock rolled into one. I don't need that, I said instinctively. She tilted her head. It's not about need, it's about truth. They've already received more than their share. What I leave behind, I want to go to someone who won't waste it trying to fix broken things. I stared at the paper in my lap. It's too much, I whispered. No, Lena, she said gently. It's enough. The next morning, she made eggs and toast like nothing had happened. She told me stories from her youth about being the middle child, always invisible between her beauty queen sister and genius brother. How did you survive that? I asked. I stopped begging to be seen, she replied, sipping her coffee, and I built a life that couldn't be ignored. I smiled for the first time in days. That afternoon, she drove me back to the city herself, pressed a crisp envelope into my hand before I got out. Emergency fund, she said. Use it for something that makes your life easier, not just something that keeps you afloat. I nodded, throat tight. As she pulled away, I stood on the curb watching her go, envelope still warm in my hand, and realized something simple but profound. I wasn't invisible anymore. They showed up on a Tuesday. No call, no warning, just a knock at the door while I was halfway through my psych reading, hair in a claw clip, wearing sweats with a coffee stain from 2 days ago. Nina opened the door, took one look at their faces, and gave me a slow, deliberate blink. "I'll be at the library," she muttered, grabbing her laptop like it was a shield. "Good luck." Then she slipped past my parents without eye contact and disappeared. I just stood there, frozen. My mom looked thinner than I remembered, hair flat, eyes tired. She smiled anyway, like muscle memory. "Hi, sweetheart." I didn't move. "What are you doing here?" My dad cleared his throat and glanced at the tiny couch like he might ask to sit. "Can we talk?" he said, voice low. I gestured stiffly. "Fine." They sat like guests who knew they weren't welcome. My mom clutched her purse like it held the last of her dignity. "We've been thinking a lot about what happened," she started. "Which part?" I said. "The theft? The lying? The gala ambush?" Dad winced. "Lena." "No," I cut in. "Seriously, be specific." There was a long silence. Then my mom said, almost in a whisper, "We need you to talk to Iris." I stared at them. "You came here to ask for a favor?" "It's not a favor," my dad said. We think she might be making a decision out of anger." I laughed, loud and bitter. "Oh, so now we're worried about emotional decisions?" "She rewrote the will," my mom blurted, "left everything to you." "Yeah," I said flatly, "because you already took everything else." My mom's hands trembled. "We were trying to help Damien." I stood, pacing now. "Damien," I repeated. "It's always Damien. He gets the bailouts, he gets the sympathy, I get the leftovers." "That's not true," Dad said, weakly. I spun around. "Isn't it? He got the acting classes he never took, the car, the money, the lies. I got second jobs, skipped meals, and a broken laptop." They said nothing. And now, I continued, voice rising, you want me to fix it. Again. You want me to lie to the only person who ever believed in me so you can go back to pretending you're good parents. No, Mom said quickly, it's not like that. We thought maybe if you explained. I did explain, I snapped, at the gala, to your faces, in front of everyone. Did that not count? Dad rubbed his eyes. Your brother is in trouble again. I blinked. You don't say. He owes people, Mom whispered. Dangerous people. We might have to sell the house. My chest tightened. Not with guilt, with exhaustion. That's not my problem, I said. How can you say that? She asked, eyes shining. He's your brother. I shook my head slowly. No, he's your project, your excuse, your golden child. But he's never been my anything. You're being cold, she said. Something snapped inside me. You know what's cold? Eating leftover croissants off a cafe tray because I couldn't afford groceries. Wearing the same shoes until they had holes. Watching Nina loan me money while you were wiring it to casinos. They flinched. We didn't know it was that bad, my dad said. I told you, I said. You didn't listen. Silence. Then Mom tried again, softer this time. Maybe just ask Iris to reconsider, for Damien's sake. I stepped toward the door and opened it. No. She looked up, startled. No? You made your choice, I said. Now you can live with it. My dad stood. We're still your parents, Lena. I stared at him. Then act like it. But don't come here asking me to fix your mess. My mom's lip trembled. Please. I shook my head. Get out. They left slowly, like the weight of their choices had finally caught up to them. My mom cried the whole way down the hall. My dad didn't look back. I didn't cry. I just sat on the floor after they left, back against the door, shaking but steady. When Nina came back an hour later, she handed me a matcha latte and sat next to me without a word. I think I just burned the last bridge, I said. She sipped her drink. Looked like it was already on fire. We laughed. It was a small sound, but it felt like freedom. After they left, it felt like someone had vacuumed all the oxygen out of my life, but weirdly, I could breathe better. No more pretending, no more waiting for approval that was never going to come. Just space. The kind space that feels like silence at first, but eventually becomes clarity. The first thing I did was quit my bartending job. I sent the manager a long thank you email, but didn't apologize for leaving. I owed myself rest, not guilt. With the money Iris sent directly now, real, dependable money, I didn't have to juggle 3 schedules like a circus act. I bought myself a proper winter coat, replaced my ancient phone, paid Nina back every dollar with interest, even though she rolled her eyes and told me to keep it. Seriously, she said, waving the cash at me. At least let me buy us a pizza with this. Fine, I said, but I'm picking the toppings. We both hate olives. It's one of the foundations of our friendship. I started sleeping more than 5 hours a night. My skin cleared up, my shoulders relaxed for the first time in years. For once, I could choose to say yes, to study groups, to weekend brunches, to spontaneous movie nights. I even went to the Met with a classmate and cried a little in front of a painting, like full tear-down-the-cheek moment. Embarrassing and perfect. One afternoon, I got an email from my psych professor. Subject: Let's talk research. Turns out, he'd read my last paper twice, said my analysis was surprisingly nuanced, and wanted to recommend me for a summer research position. It came with a stipend, real money, real credits, real opportunity. Before, I would have declined immediately. Not enough time, not enough energy. Now, I sent back, I'd love that. When can we meet? Then came spring break. I'd never had one. Not really. Spring break had always meant extra shifts and cheap ramen. But this year, Nina burst into our dorm one afternoon holding a flyer like it was the Declaration of Independence. Miami, beach house, 7 girls, no drama, just sand and sunscreen. I blinked. Is that an ad or a threat? It's freedom, she declared, and you, Lena Hartley, are coming with me. My first instinct was to say no. Old habits die hard. But then I thought, why not? I didn't owe anyone frugality anymore. I didn't have to apologize for not struggling. So I packed my favorite thrifted swimsuit, bought sunscreen that didn't smell like hospital soap, and got on a plane with 6 semi-strangers and Nina, who would always be family, blood be damned. The trip was stupid fun. We danced on rooftops, ate ridiculous amounts of tacos, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. I swam in the ocean without checking the time. I laughed until my ribs hurt. For the first time, I let joy in without guilt. Back on campus, tanned and sun-high, I found a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten, familiar. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Lena, we've moved into a smaller place. The house is gone. Damien's in rehab again. The doctors say this program might work, if he sticks to it. We've been thinking a lot about what we did, about what we didn't do. We made mistakes, big ones. We can't change the past. But we're proud of you for standing on your own. Love, Mom. No apology, just an update, a flicker of acknowledgement. That was it. I showed it to Nina. She read it, snorted, and said, "That's it? After all that?" I shrugged. I didn't expect even this much. The thing is, I didn't feel angry. Not like before. Not because they deserved peace, but because I did. I had midterms coming, and a research interview, and a fridge full of groceries I'd bought without checking my bank balance first. I had freedom. Not just the kind you can pack in a suitcase, but the kind that grows quietly in your chest when no one's watching. And I wasn't wasting it on regret. It happened on a Thursday night. I had just finished a long study session in the library, brain mushy from memorizing neuroanatomy diagrams. My earbuds were in, hoodie up, head down as I trudged across campus with a granola bar clutched in one hand and my phone in the other. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something, instinct maybe, made me answer. Hello? Silence for a beat. Then, Lena? It's Damien. I stopped walking. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just stood still in the middle of the path, watching the late-night flow of students around me, like a rock in a river. Hey, I said, flat. I wasn't sure you'd pick up, he said. His voice sounded different, slower, fragile in a way I'd never heard from him. I wasn't sure either. Another pause, then, carefully, I'm in a rehab center upstate. Part of the program is making amends. I sat on a nearby bench without meaning to. I know what Mom and Dad did, he said, with your money. I didn't know at the time, but that doesn't change anything. I'm sorry, Lena, for everything, for taking so much without even realizing it. I didn't say anything, let him keep talking. I've been thinking about all of it, he continued, how you were always picking up after the messes no one noticed, and I got everything, and I still blew it. That last line hit harder than I expected. I'm not asking for anything, he added quickly, not forgiveness, not a relationship. I just wanted you to hear it, from me. I was part of it, even if I wasn't holding the checkbook. I leaned back, eyes on the stars barely visible through the city haze. I appreciate you saying that, I said finally. It means more than you probably think. He let out a breath. I'm trying to be better, one day at a time. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. I hope you get there. We didn't say goodbye. just sat in the silence for a few more seconds before he hung up. I stayed there for a while, phone resting on my thigh, not crying, not angry, just still. It was the first real apology I'd gotten from anyone in my family. It didn't fix everything, didn't undo the years of imbalance, the silence, the lies, but it cracked something open in me, not the pain, but the weight of carrying it alone. That weekend, Iris visited campus again. She brought scones, a new scarf, and stories about her neighbor's cat who had allegedly joined a raccoon gang. We sat under the blooming cherry trees, and she asked, "How are you really doing?" And I surprised myself by answering, "Good. Like, actually good." She smiled. That's how it should be. I pulled the rehab letter from my desk drawer later that night, reread it, thought about Damien, about my parents, about all the versions of me I'd left behind. Then I tucked the letter back in, not out of bitterness, but because I wasn't ready to respond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I didn't owe anyone reconciliation, just peace with myself. Spring rolled into summer. I got the research position, traveled to a small academic conference, and gave a presentation in a blazer that actually fit, got an A in psych, reapplied for a paid internship at Vibeline, and got it, with a stipend and a byline this time. Iris came to the celebration dinner and toasted me like I'd won a Pulitzer. And maybe, in a way, I had, because I'd survived something silent and invisible, something so many people never name, being the forgotten one, the backup plan, the person no one expected to rise. But I did, not in spite of them, but beyond them. Now, when I look ahead, I don't see shadows, I see space. For me, for what I want, for the life I'm finally building with both hands, no apologies.
And now I'd love to hear from you. What did you take away from Lena's story? Was there a moment that hit close to home? A truth you didn't expect? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If the story moved you, made you think, or just kept you company for a little while, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more. There's always another story around the corner. Thank you for listening, really. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay loud in your own quiet way.